Hey everybody, what is going on? George the Italiano is here in the hosting seat. We're going to dive into another Citrus Corner. It's been a while, sorry folks, but yes, we are back and I got my brother OG along the ride. We're going to talk some Walt Disney World, some Disney Cruise Line, even a little bit of Universal. Shocker, folks. Uh, on Citrus Corner as part of OG 55.
55.
Welcome back, folks, to another Citrus Corner as part of OG 55, and yeah, let's just dive
Dive
right
in.
in. We got we
Yeah.
got we got a lot of great, sweet, juicy but sticky topics. So let's dive into it. So the first one, this one's really sticky. So, um, this is coming from WDW News Today that
Yeah.
there was a recent
Survey.
survey that's floating around there that's ranking Walt Disney World as the number one rip-off tourist attraction in the country. Well, I have to say, based off of the the amount of lines and crowds that are walking through the parks, I don't see how that's happening. But hey, it is what it is. But I don't like. Is this like coming from like a company
This is
that
th-
like a
this
third
is
party company?
yeah, this is it says here in a survey conducted by casino.org. Walt Disney World was ranked at the top ripoff of USA tourist attractions. It goes on to say casino.org created its list of scams by first. Hold on one sec. I don't want Hillshire Farm to get me. There we go. Created its list of scams by first finding the top result for ripoff on Google Trends and TripAdvisor. Then they surveyed over 5,000 American participants in January 2024 on this data. Respondents ranked the top three generic ripoffs as college textbooks. That's pretty, yeah. Credit scores, yeah, and movie theater snacks. So, and Disney World actually ended up being number one. 60% of respondents stated Walt Disney World was the biggest ripoff when it comes to tourist attractions. This has made it to the top of the ripoff. Made it the top ripoff. Sorry about that, for the state of Florida. Okay, so it's just for the state of Florida. But here's the thing. Here's my thing. Okay, I'm not going to defend Disney on this, and fully. It's kind of a weird kind of gray area for me with this. Do I look? I've been saying for many years now. Actually, I think Disney sort of gets the shitty end of the stick when it comes to like, so expensive. I mean, we just did a video the other day. Universal to get those fizzy boba drinks for Super Nintendo World are like $14. Okay, it's ridiculous. Okay, so it's not like Disney's the only game in town like overcharging people. Okay, even if you could take other entertainment stuff, forget theme parks, right? I recently, this past summer, I was talking to Theme Park Wizard about going to see Blackpink, right, at Dodger Stadium. And we ended up not going because the tickets were like $800-900, sometimes even 1,000 if you want any kind of decent seat. And that's only for a few hours, y'all. That's only for a few hours. So I get it. I understand it's expensive. But my thing is like a lot of shit is expensive and a lot of stuff is like kind of overboard. Now, here's where Disney, though, I think is at fault. The Genie Plus Lightning Lane situation. We're going to get into a video on that very soon. But that whole system is broken. There's way too many people in that system. So when people pay their $30 to use that stuff and they're waiting in a longer line for Lightning Lane than the standby, I think that's where I think a lot of this rip-off sort of optics is coming in. I think that's a real big problem for them. They got to fix that. And it's been all over X and on Twitter lately, the videos, the lines coming out of Walt Disney World because of that system is just not working properly. They got to get the pricing up on that. There's way too many people in the system. So yes, I do think that there's an optics problem with Disney. The Lightning Lane stuff, I think, is their fault, and I think that contributes to it. But I also think a lot of the optics for Disney isn't necessarily their fault. It's sort of like everyone just assumes Disney's like the most expensive thing. But when you go to Vegas, you go to these concerts, it's just as much of a ripoff at the end of the day. Go ahead, George. I apologize, brother.
No, no, you're good, bro. You're absolutely right. Yeah, I still stand by my statement. I feel like with the amount of people that are in the parks right now, mind you, the President's Day weekend just passed. They probably have a little bit more than usual.
Right.
Um, but people are still going to the parks.
Yeah.
It's still, and Disney sees this and Disney knows this, so they're gonna capitalize it on
Of
on
course.
that notion. As far as this survey goes, now you have to think too. This isn't 60% of all Americans in the country of the United States. This is 60% of the number of the people who actually took this survey.
Correct.
So, you kind of have to teeter that too. Now, I do agree with the notion with the Genie Plus and the Lightning Lanes. As you mentioned, we'll definitely get into that in a future video because we're going to dive deep into that. And I think we all have strong
Yeah.
opinions and thoughts on that. But I do feel like, too, with Walt Disney World, and this is probably where people are starting to have that notion that it's a little bit of a ripoff because as time goes on, prices increase, which, as
Correct.
you had mentioned, it's not just Disney, it's Universal,
Yeah.
it's concert vendors, it's everything.
It's everything. And the prices, you see the prices here. We did a video a few months ago when the Universal rates are taking prices, they're not too far off from Disney.
Oh,
So
I tell you, bro, I was actually looking at the prices of Universal Hollywood in April. I was just curious to see like what a 1 day ticket was, and it was one of the days that I was looking at was it was $144 for a 1 day ticket at Universal Hollywood.
wow.
So it's like, now mind you, it was on a weekend, but still, I mean, if you're gonna call out Disney for these prices, you have to call out the other. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. I'm sorry, it's just the way that it goes.
Well,
Now,
and you're getting less, honestly,
yes,
at Universal Hollywood. There's not a whole lot to do in that park. You know what I'm
right,
saying?
and which is going to bring me to my point with Walt Disney World. Now, where it does come off as a little bit of a ripoff to people, whether it's like, maybe their second time visiting or even if it's their 10th time visiting, but they just haven't done it in a while. To then compare prices that what they spent in the past to what it is now, for them to fork out that amount of money in that amount of time, but there's nothing really new in the sense that's big that can attract people in to say, yeah, I'll spend this amount of money, for this or that. Yes, they did just get Tron. They got Cosmic Rewind. They got the Journey of Water inspired by Moana, which we'll talk about in just a few moments.
Yeah.
But they need to expand out these parks. They can't keep doing replacements.
Right.
Magic Kingdom needs to expand. Animal Kingdom needs to expand.
There was no excuse, in my opinion. And I was talking to somebody about this on Twitter the other day. I forgot who, but there was no excuse for them to have gotten rid of the Great Movie Ride for Runaway Railway.
No.
You could have kept that signature attraction and added Runaway Railway, and now we're cooking with some gas here. Now we're adding capacity, but they didn't do it.
No. And that's what Walt Disney was always keen about, why he purchased so much land in Florida. It was like he said, we have the opportunity that we didn't have at Disneyland that we do for the Florida project, and that's the blessing of size. And it's like they're not utilizing it.
You know all about the blessing of size, huh, George? The
I really
Italiano?
do. Yes, I do. I do.
Yeah, but it's yeah, you're right. They got the blessing aside. They have the room. They got to start using it now. Not to say they never replace anything, because there are stuff, especially like I think a lot of the EPCOT stuff, like the Future World needed.
Yeah.
But like you have to. Yeah, you can update and replace, but you also have to expand out, like you were saying, George.
Yeah, like even with Epcot, like right now they'll give Epcot a little breather, with all the construction and everything. But let's get another country pavilion in there. Like let's expand out World Showcase. Disney even admitted to the fact that they have enough room over there for more countries. Okay, great. Let's get them in there. Let's.
Dude, let's get the South Korea pavilion in there, right?
OG would buy a 1-day ticket just for that.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? No, but you're right. We definitely need another pavilion. And there were rumors, right, about like the Brazilian, or they were going to be Brazil.
Spain. Spain was actually, I think, pretty much greenlit when they made the announcement for the animated film Gigantic. But once that got axed, there goes the Spain pavilion. Because I feel like that they're not going to put in a country that can't back up an IP.
No, definitely not. Those days, I know fans, they don't like, well, not fans, because the normies love it. The normies will eat up the Spider-Man and the Elsa and all that.
Yeah.
The nerds, the diehard nerds like us, I know our community doesn't like the IP.
Yeah.
It's that ship has sailed, everybody. Okay.
Yeah.
The IP is happening, Now, if they do it in a nice, respectful way, I think, and this might be an unpopular opinion, I actually think the integration of Frozen into Norway, I think it worked. I think it would work, but some people don't like it, but
Yeah. But yeah, so I do understand people's frustrations of how it could be a ripoff, that, they're paying this X amount of money and there's nothing really significantly new that they could say, wow, this is a big expansion in these parks, let's go do this. So I could definitely understand that, but to discount Disney as being like the number one ripoff when there's so many other things that are just as much of a ripoff, if not more, I'm kind of like on that teeter.
It's kind of like what our good friend Jay Shear has been saying for a long time, where Disney's biggest problem is really the PR game.
Yeah.
And maybe I think a lot of that plays into this. Where it's like Disney has a perception problem, a PR problem. They got real issues. I'm not downplaying the real issues at the Walt Disney Company. I'm not. We have financial issues, streaming stuff going on, all kinds of real problems. But I would agree with Jay. I think the number one thing that's really straddling the Walt Disney Company right now is PR. And I think a lot of that PR is showing in this. Because the reality, the numbers on the ground, like Universal, like we said, isn't much cheaper. It really isn't. I mean, I get it. Some of their hotels, I think, are probably better priced, though. But the rest of the stuff, like the ticketing and all that, the food and the merch, hell no. It's like the same as Disney, and sometimes even worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, PR is really stinking like BO.
Yeah, exactly. Like BO. Exactly. 100%.
Okay, so moving along, as I had mentioned before, I mentioned Journey of Water, inspired by Moana, that was just recently added to EPCOT in the front of the park, which is part of the World Nature area. That recently 2 full interactive areas were shut down abruptly. For refurbishment. And this is also coming from WDW News Today as well. But I do find it frustrating. I will say it is frustrating that this walkthrough attraction has only been opened 5 months. And it's already having issues where they have to shut it down and refurbish those areas. However, I will say this, and you can call me a shill, you can call me whatever you want to call me. I don't give a crap.
You're a pixie duster, George. You're a pixie duster.
A pixie duster, a shill, whatever. Go for it. This is exactly a perfect example that when you have a walkthrough attraction,
right,
an interactive walkthrough attraction.
Yeah, this is why I don't like interactive stuff.
And they constantly have people walking through it day after day, hour after hour, minute by minute. When I went through this, it was packed with people. So every time that they're going into these interactive areas, things are going to get worn out. They're going to get burned out. And yes, I get it. It's only 5 months. But add up every second of every minute of every hour of every day that these things are being used. Put on a video game console and just keep playing and playing and playing nonstop. Don't shut it down. What's it going to do? It's going to get hot. It's going to short circuit and it's going to burn out.
Well, and here's the thing. Yeah, I mean, I think the interactive stuff. I don't know why Imagineering is real in on this interactive stuff, and they have been for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I've been really against it. I don't like this stuff where you pull and push and bang on things because it gets broken. You know, and it's like we saw it with Indiana Jones Adventure, like the Q area.
Well,
It
to be
breaks.
fair, OG, I mean, it depends on what you're pulling, pushing, and banging on. You
Right, exactly, right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't break you; it makes you feel alive.
Yeah.
There's like a new man. No, but you know what I'm saying though? Like this stuff breaks, right? And we've seen it with Toontown, you know, and it's like we've seen it even Nintendo World, we've seen it. Like a lot of interactive stuff just doesn't hold up. And for me, I just wish that Disney Imagineering would kind of get away from the interactive stuff. I think it leads to more problems than not, you know.
which which is very interesting because don't get me wrong, aesthetically and visually, this area is beautiful.
Oh
I
yeah,
love it. It's great. But the interactive part, weren't they having a lot of issues with the interaction, like in the queues, like with the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh and the
right.
Seven Dwarfs Mine Train? It's like, so why would you then just create a walkthrough attraction that's all, it's nothing but, interaction? I mean, Moana is a hot ticket right now.
Yeah,
It's doing banger numbers, as Kaylee would say, on Disney Plus. They're coming out with a Moana 2 that's getting banger numbers of the views on Instagram and YouTube. But it's like, I've seen a lot of people talking on social media. It's like, why take something of a popular IP and
yeah,
kind of dilute it, no pun intended,
yeah.
with an interactive walkthrough?
It deserves more.
It deserves much more. And
Yeah.
honestly, it's okay in Epcot, but I still don't fully get it why it's in Epcot. Like when I walked through this, all I saw was like, this would have been perfect in Animal Kingdom.
Hmm.
This would have been perfect as is in Animal Kingdom, tied to an e-ticket attraction.
Yeah. Well, and here's the issue, and I believe, and I could be mistaken. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. This is a Chapek era project. And I don't know when it was greenlit. Probably around the time
Yes, I
he
think
was.
you are correct because at one of the expos, when they first made the announcement
Was it Chapek?
that Epcot was going to do a huge overhaul, they showcased the greenery at the front of the park, but no one knew what that was.
Uh,
All they saw was greenery, and they thought, is it Tarzan? Is it, like, no one can configure
right.
what it was, but it was Moana.
See, and this is the thing. I think Chapek. I think they're going to get better now. I think we got Bruce Vaughn in there. I think things will improve. It takes time.
Yeah.
There's a lag in the product from, like, I always say this, right? When it comes to movies, even people complain about Disney movies today, and they're like, "See, Disney is still getting political." It's like, well, not really. We haven't really. The thing is that when you create a movie, it takes 3 to 4 years to produce that film. So
Mm-hmm.
the movie you see in 2023 or 2024 is really a product of like 2020 or 2021. We're not going to see the fruit of the product of today for another 3 or 4 years. Same goes for these attractions and what have you, right? So I think now with Bruce Vaughn recently coming back, I think we're going to start seeing more quality stuff. But the issue with Moana, and I think this is to your point, George, it doesn't feel like it belongs in Epcot. I think what it was I think they have, it's a little checkboxy, right? When it comes to like, okay, we have to do more, we have to have more family stuff in Epcot. That's the
Mm.
demo we're trying to bring into Epcot. What's popular with families? Well, Moana's good on streaming. Families love Moana on streaming. So they go, perfect. So then Moana is perfect for Epcot, but not really. You know what I'm saying? It's like those two things are true. Epcot needs to bring in the more family friendly stuff, and Moana is very popular on Disney Plus, but that doesn't mean they're necessarily good together. It's not terrible, but they're not necessarily great together. You know, look, I like ice cream and I like peanut butter and jelly, but I don't necessarily want to like have that together. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what I'm kind of saying here with this. So I think that it was very, very much like kind of like a formulaic decision. You know, okay, well, these check all the boxes. Moana's popular and this one, and that's what happened. And I think they could have done a little bit better with it. Now, do I hate it? I haven't been on it, so I can't really fully opinionate about it. but you have, and I believe Slimer as well. You guys did it together, and you guys enjoyed it. But I just feel like for this park, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't get to do it with Slimer. He couldn't make it for that day, but yeah, aesthetically, it's beautiful. Visually, it's beautiful. They have the music playing. You know, they have like the water going everywhere. It's very pretty. It's very tranquil, but um, it's just, but when you have people like everywhere like wanting to like get into the interaction areas, like with the, you know, with the water and everything, you got to step on like a certain area to make sure that, you know, it activates the water to where your movement is. And it's like it's great, but as I said, it's just it just doesn't fit well, I believe, in Epcot. I know what they were trying to do
Yeah,
because of world nature, like with living with the land and, you
it's a
know,
new
the Soren.
theme. You
Yeah,
know, it's not Future World anymore. So if this fits, it does. Technically, it does fit world nature, but for some reason, it still feels weird. It feels off to me. I don't know why.
yeah. It's just, it's like one of those things you just can't like, you know, get it. It's like at Magic Kingdom, you know, Moana would fit perfectly in Adventureland, you know, just beyond across Bay Lake where you see the Polynesian Village Hotel. And then Moana even in Animal Kingdom with the, you know, the way of water and how water, you know, works and everything, you know, that fits in with the environmental side of Animal
Right.
Kingdom. But yeah, it's like, yeah, you're right, if you really think about it, it does fit in world nature, but just
It's
it just don't. I don't know, just
it,
something. It's unbalanced.
it just feels weird. I don't know what it is, and it looks like an Animal Kingdom thing. When I was looking at those pictures, I'm like, that's so Animal Kingdom, you know.
Yeah,
And maybe
yeah,
that's what it is. Maybe because it aligns so perfectly with Animal Kingdom, it kind of pulls you out a little bit. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I can't really put my finger on it, but it's really it's bizarre. It really
yeah.
is.
Okay, so we are going from land to sea, and this is compliments of mousesteps
Yes.
.com that they got some great footage recently of the new island that Disney acquired, or partial of the island, I should say, in the Bahamas, called Lookout Key, as part of Lighthouse Point. That these are the, I believe that the cabana little huts that will be not included. You know, you have to pay for it, folks. You know, not everything is included. Um,
Are we talking? Are we talking money,
we're
George?
talking money.
Brand new money, brand new hundreds, got a bunch of zeros like a bag of new funyuns.
There we go. You got to bring a lot of bag of Funyuns, a lot of zeros. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying?
But yes, the footage that they captured, I mean, this looks phenomenal. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Castaway Key, Disney's original private island, which they still have in the Bahamas. That anytime you go on a Bahama cruise or some of the Caribbean cruises, they always make a stop at Castaway Key, and there's going to be cruises coming up where Lookout Key is going to be part of that, and I think it's just going to be phenomenal. Disney does so well with the theming and the storytelling when it comes to the Disney Cruise Line, and it's like they never disappoint. I have yet. I've been going on Disney Cruise Line for what is it, 10, 11 years now, and I have yet to be disappointed at any given moment that I step foot on one of their ships.
No, I agree. I've only done it twice, you know, but both times were amazing. And look at this water. I mean, that was the other thing too. When we went into Castaway Key, um,
Crystal blue.
I mean, it's like pool water, dude. I mean, you could see to the bottom. I mean, and I'm telling you, like as a Californian, that's you know, I mean, maybe in Orange County beaches it's a little different, but in LA County, you're not getting clear water. I'll tell you that much right now. It's green and sludgy, you know.
Yes.
But I was blown away by the water, how crystal clear and beautiful it was. It was just amazing, and you can even see it here how bright blue it is. But this is going to be incredible. I mean, absolutely incredible. If I had the money to do it, I would in a freaking heartbeat.
Yeah, absolutely. Which I do love the fact that Disney's private islands like Castaway Key and now Lookout Key. Now I do love how they are included with your cruise vacation package. You don't have to pay extra to actually go on the island or go into
Right.
the water. It's not like the excursions or if you want a private cabana or what have you. So, I mean, so far it's definitely coming along nicely. It's almost ready to be open to the public. I believe I think there's one cruise in 2024 that they'll be the first guests to step foot on Lookout Key.
Nice.
And I'm jealous of them. But I mean, it's because I would love to do that, but um, eventually it's going to come where we'll definitely be on a cruise to Lookout Key. So I definitely can't
Well,
wait.
and we just talked about the Moana, the Journey of Water thing, and how it fit perfectly in Epcot. It would even fit perfectly on one of these islands or something.
Exactly.
I mean,
like I could look at this architectural style, and it's like, yeah, you could have placed that walkthrough and put it right in there.
right.
It would have been
Yeah,
perfect.
it would have been perfect. Would have been absolutely beautiful. So yeah, this looks great. The cruise lines always hitting home runs. My first time on the Wonder, it blew my mind. It really did blow my mind. And like I'm not really like a fancy person. Like I don't really like when I go to the theme parks. I even made a tweet about it the other day. When I go to Disney, I don't have to go on a single ride. I don't even care. If I'm just there, I'll soak in the atmosphere and eat and just walk around. I'm totally fine with that. I'm the same with the cruise lines. I'm cool with sitting out on my little porch and watching the water and watching some, dolphins or something and just hanging out and enjoying the fresh
And
seawater.
that's the best thing
sea
to
air.
do. And that's the best thing to do on a Disney cruise. Is like that's your true vacation. You want rest
yeah.
and relaxation. It's on Disney Cruise Line. And that's why even though you have gone on the cruise that you did in California on the Wonder, I couldn't wait to take you on an East Coast Disney cruise because that's how you were able to experience Castaway Key. And I tell you what, like when you experience Castaway Key on top of already going on a Disney cruise, it's like nothing you can imagine.
Yeah. Oh, I'm telling you, that Castaway Key, man, was absolutely insane. Absolutely
Okay,
insane.
so now we're going back to land.
Here we go.
And this is something that and for all you people that are, saying, okay, you're backing up Bob Iger and all this and that, this is the one project that screamed Bob Iger, and this is the one project that I never even understood why. I mean,
Well,
I knew why, let me say that, but this was just an eyesore to the fact that they took out Disney Quest to put in this NBA experience, but now the NBA experience is closed on, and Disney recently filed permits to actually have it removed completely, and I think is quite interesting. What's that?
the whole building?
I don't know if they didn't. I don't know if they said the whole thing like demo it, but they just said the NBA experience was just going to be removed. So I think when they closed it down, it just
Yeah.
kind of sat there stagnant.
Yeah.
So now I think they got permits to actually like remove like the logos and everything inside. I don't know if they'll demo the whole entire building. Which I really honestly don't care because anything what else they put in there is going to be better than this thing. I'm sorry.
Well,
I had
and
no appeal to even attempt to even walk through it.
yeah, I don't give a shit about sports, dude. I couldn't care less. I wouldn't set foot in this place. I mean, unless they had like, like a little bar I can get like a beer or something. I mean, and some like really good hot wings. Then I'll be there, But
Yeah.
other than that, I really could care less. But like I think with this, you mentioned Bob Iger. There were talks. He was like wanting to get involved with the NBA and stuff. And so he had the NBA commissioner. I don't even know the guy's name. He's like a skinny guy. He's like bald.
Yeah.
He invited the NBA commissioner the day of the opening of this thing. And I think this whole thing was like a snooze fest for Iger.
Oh, absolutely. Iger never goes to anything, especially at Walt Disney World.
No, he doesn't
but
care
he's
about
going to
Disney World.
fly all the way down there for the opening of this.
That's why, bro.
Yeah.
He was networking. He was networking. He was smoozing. You know what I'm saying?
He wanted to be the next Mark Cuban.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I have no desire for this. I got to be honest. Even the Disney Quest thing, I've never been. Obviously, it's been closed for a while. But even Disney Quest to me never really appealed to me. I've never really been a person that really, I don't know, like video games at like a Disney park. Like I can do that at home. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But was it more than that though? Or
It was 5 floors. It had a lot of like, at that time, like virtual reality stuff, like for
Oh,
for that
okay.
time. Like if Disney Quest was still the same as it was then as it is today, people would go in and say, "Wow, this is completely outdated," you know. But they
Yeah.
had like a but I don't think it was like stuff that like was geared for you, OG. I think it was more because they had like a virtual Jungle Cruise, which was kind of cool. They had the virtual Pirates of the Caribbean, but it's like why? Like as far as like with that, if you wanted to go on the Jungle Cruise or Pirates of the Caribbean, just go into the parks and ride the real thing, you know.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird. It's
You
kind
know,
of a weird
then
thing.
they had like the Magic Carpets of Aladdin, which I thought was kind of cool. That's something that I would have taken in the parks, other than that damn spinner ride, you know, that they put in Magic Kingdom. And then they had the kind of like the I forget what it was called. It was named after something like a space mountain, but I forget there was another name tied to it, where you basically design and rode your own creation of a
Was
roller
it
coaster.
Cyberspace Mountain?
Cyberspace Mountain, that was
Okay.
it. Yes. Yeah, you basically design and rode your own roller coaster, and so yeah, I mean, it's like it was nice, you know, it's like a fill-in, like if you were in Downtown Disney at the time, that's what it was called before Disney Springs,
Right.
and but yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It definitely needed updating if they were going to keep it for sure.
Yeah.
Now the big question is, what do you think is going to go in the place of that area?
Well, that's a massive building, right?
Yeah, it's huge.
And it's where in Disney Springs.
Disney Springs. It's right on the west end by where the Cirque du Soleil tent is. As I said, when they had the original Disney Quest there, they had 5 floors.
Yeah. What can you even put in there? What, like a Dave and Buster's? Like, I don't know. I mean, that's a massive thing, you know?
Yeah. So I wonder if they really are gonna demolish it
I think that might
and
be
kind
the.
of like build up for whatever they want to put in there.
I think demolishing it would probably be the best idea because it's gonna be really hard to fill that thing. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I would demolish it, and then because it holds such a large footprint, you can build multiple things probably on that spot, or at least a couple things. You know?
Yeah.
And go that route. I think that might be the smarter move, to be
Yeah.
honest. You know,
Yeah. Either way, I'm just so glad they're getting rid of that NBA experience. I mean, even though it's been closed, but I'm glad that they're utilizing that space now.
yeah, no, me too. Well, it's like at our downtown Disney in Anaheim, they got rid of the giant AMC theater, and they were able to build like a little like a permanent stage for like musical acts, the little lawn where you can chill, and a Ding Tai Fung and a this, that, and the other. It's like, you know, they bulldozed one building and they got like 3 and 4 other things in its place. You might be able to do something similar with this thing where you bulldoze it and then you can put a couple things there and get a little more use out of it. Because, like I said, I mean, I don't know what you're going to put in there. We're going to put a Macy's. The thing is freaking huge.
It went from a Dave and Buster's to a Macy's.
Exactly.
So, also now, speaking back at EPCOT, where there's still a little bit of construction still going on to finish off those neighborhood areas that used to be Future World. More paneling is being installed at Communicore Hall, and
More updates.
yeah, more updates. I think honestly, aesthetically, I really wasn't getting it, but I kind of dig the pattern. I love how it kind of fits in well with Spaceship Earth.
I like it.
Yeah.
It complements Spaceship Earth really, really well. I like how they're borrowing that design and adding it to the building. This is right across from Spaceship Earth, right?
Mhm. Yeah, it should be like adjacent from it. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's smart.
Yeah, and especially since you had mentioned just a few minutes ago, like how, you know, with Disneyland, you know, you had like the outdoor area where you're going to have like the bands and the concerts and everything. That's where like this area is going to be. This is going to be basically like for the night entertainment, like where they're going to have bands and concerts and music playing with lights and everything. This is more so kind of like what took the place of that I don't even know. I forget what it's called. It was like it's so long ago. Like the outdoor like Central Park on top, that pavilion that was supposed to hold all the like different events and stuff.
Oh, okay. In the concept art,
Yeah.
the multi-level thing.
The
Yeah,
multi-level. Yeah, so this is more so like what it's become, like where they have like a lot of outdoor entertainment where they're going to have a stage and everything, and then tied with the Communicore Hall. But I think it's coming along great. You know,
Yeah.
I know people are going to be bitching and moaning and complaining about something of it, but I love how the building itself complements Spaceship Earth, and it definitely gives it that Epcot feel.
Yeah, exactly. No, I like the little nods to Spaceship Earth. We'll see what they do with it. And I like these spaces, like you were saying, these outdoor spaces that Disney's kind of doing right now, where they have music, you can get some food, things like that. I like that concept, and it's actually really big right now. They're building something like that, similar in Anaheim, over by the I think it's the Honda Center. It's called Vibe, I believe it is, or
Oh,
something.
okay.
It's a similar kind of like outdoorsy, chill, listen to music, have a beer kind of thing. And I don't know, I dig that. And I think it actually, that concept, I think, works really well with Disney parks in general, because it's all about community and your family and spending quality time with each other. And I think that kind of marries well with the concept, that they're kind of going here with, where it's like you hang out outdoors, sitting on some grass. Yeah, it fits in my opinion. I don't know.
Absolutely. And yeah, this is that's the final work of Communicore Hall and Plaza, that once it's done, I believe, don't don't quote me on it, but I think that's the last piece. I think, like, as far as like with the having the construction walls up, I think
Right.
that's when the front part of Epcot can actually finally breathe.
Yeah, you can breathe. you know.
Yeah.
So should we mosey on over to Universal?
Let's mosey on over to Universal, our final stop for this evening.
Yep.
So I thought it would be kind of interesting to kind of talk about. A lot of people are discussing, Epic Universe and like everything that's been going into it and everything, which is great. But I think a lot of people really aren't discussing the fact of what it's going to do for the other theme parks.
Like in terms of like
in
additions.
in terms of like, yeah, like, because basically, we said it many times before on this channel that when Epic Universe opens, it's gonna basically eat up a lot of folks from going over to the studios and Islands of Adventure. So they're
Right.
going to have to come up with some new ideas to kind of play catch up, because you really have to think, even though it's a brand new theme park that we haven't had since 19,
99.
1999, actually, from Islands of Adventure, there really hasn't been too much, aside from Wizarding World, of any kind of like major updates to the other two parks. So it's like,
Well,
I
and the
mean, you get
updates.
like as far as like, you get Velocicoaster, you put it in, but I mean, like, no major changes,
Yeah.
where
Well,
like the lands are basically what they were when they opened up in 1999.
yeah, they are. And I think Island of Adventure, Velocicoaster was a massive win for that park. Not my cup of tea at all, but people freaking love that thing. That was a massive win for them. I think that the bigger issue right now, I think, is the studio park. Um, Diagon Alley is in that park, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that was a good move. But it's like the rest of this stuff that
Sort
they're.
of, because they took out Jaws.
Oh, right. I know. I know. I love the classic Universal stuff too. I know. But it's like that's the park where it's like you get a bunch of this like kind of cut rate, cheap, value engineered like minion stuff. And like they got look, if you're gonna build what they're saying is gonna be this next level cutting edge theme park down the road, Epic Universe,
Mhm.
and you're gonna like kind of cheap out on the studio park, that's going to be a problem. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see. Now, from what I understand, the rumors, word on the street, is that Pokemon is coming to the studio park.
And that was going to be my question. It was like, as far as like, Pokemon, Zelda, Ghostbusters, there's a lot of fresh IP, that's up for grabs for Universal to use.
Pokemon would be big. I mean, Pokemon would be massive. And Pokemon, because Universal, they can't get away with doing a cheap Pokemon ride because Nintendo, I don't think they fully.
They would bury them alive.
Right. And I don't think Nintendo fully owns Pokemon. It's kind of weird, but they own at least a stake in it. They'll
Right.
have a say in this for sure. They can't do the whole minion villain con route with Pokemon.
No.
I mean, they got to build something top notch. So that's good for the park. If Pokemon's going in there, it'll likely be a top notch experience and
Now,
huge with the kids.
oh, definitely, and I completely agree. As I said, you put Pokemon you put Pokemon in Universal Studios, the Studios park, then I could actually say now you're giving Disney a run for its money because
Wow.
you then have an IP if it's done correctly.
Right.
Because then you then have an IP that is the strongest that it's ever been for how many decades, and it's still going. It's
Oh, it's
evergreen.
evergreen. It's
It's
evergreen.
definitely evergreen. So they have to do it correctly. My only issue with putting Pokemon in the studios is I feel like with the studios park, and I'm including Disney's Hollywood Studios into this, it seems like that both studio parks are kind of crammed in the sense where it's like they can't really like expand out,
Okay.
like fleshed out. It feels
Are
like
they
that they're
are
kind of.
they are they landlocked? Is
That's
what
what I
you're
was just
saying?
going to say. That's what it seems like. I don't know
Okay.
if that's the case. I do believe partial of that is for Disney's Hollywood Studios. I'm not sure if it is for Universal Studios. However, if they're going to put a huge franchise of Pokemon in the studios, and especially because there's talks that it's going to replace The Simpsons,
Right.
there's a good piece of land there, but I feel like it's not enough to kind of really utilize Pokemon. Like, if it was
Mm.
me, I mean, I'm going to go balls to the wall on this. I would take The Simpsons out. I would take Men in Black out. I
Yeah.
would take. Now, I know probably Slimer would disagree with me on this because I think he would prefer to put in like something of Ghostbusters in Men in Black. Um, but
I mean, I think Ghostbusters should go in that park. I mean, I'm fully
yeah,
supportive, really
yeah, oh yeah, I
supportive of
am
that.
too. Yeah, I am too. But I think like as far as like using that huge chunk of real estate, if you're going to do Pokemon, you need a lot of room.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I'm curious what kind of ride system that would be. But if you add Pokemon in there and you add Ghostbusters in there, that's pretty solid. Ghostbusters is great because Ghostbusters, even though it's technically a Sony IP, not a Universal IP, it feels like a Universal IP.
And Ghostbusters got resurrected, out of like no pun intended.
Yeah.
That I mean, it's like it was already a a great franchise in the '80s, and moving into the '90s and what have you. But it's that the fact that it's coming back in a big way. What a great way to kind of do a full 360
Right.
to come back to like that it used to be in the parks of Universal. So what a great way to kind of bring that back. And then with Zelda, then you can kind of put that in
IOA.
IOA
And that's
in
the
the
rumor.
place.
That's
Yeah.
where they're putting it, which I mean it fits. I mean it would fit in IOA. I think it would probably be a little better in Epic Universe. It feels a little more epic to me. I don't know, but
Yeah.
it works in Isles of Adventure too. You
Yeah.
know.
Now there were rumors a long time ago, or it might have been rumors, or it could have just been like fan, speculation, of like what they would like to see. But there were even talks that if Disney did, acquire the full rights to Marvel,
Right.
or Universal didn't want to have Marvel in the parks anymore because of they can't add really nothing to it. They could touch it
Right.
up, but they can't add anything more. That Marvel Superhero Island would then become Pokemon. Now, if they did that, that is a huge chunk of real estate
Well,
that could have been for Pokemon because, again, rumor that where the Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man is, that would have been the attraction based off of Pokemon Snap.
and from what I understand, Universal Japan closed their Spider-Man ride and it's going to become a Pokemon ride. So that's why I was really surprised when I was hearing from like Wizard and these Universal folks saying like, "Oh no, Pokemon's going in a studio park." And I get it. That park needs like good stuff,
Yeah.
For sure, like we were just talking about. But it's like, you already built something, or you're already building something to go in there, in Japan. Like, why don't you just do it here? But I don't know. And this is where it comes in, like when I was talking about the Moana thing and what EPCOT needs. Universal kind of does the same thing. It's like, well, okay, this park needs kid stuff. Pokemon's popular with kids, so we'll put it here. And it's like they just don't really. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I think it would be better, in my opinion. I think long term too. Because look, with Marvel, like you said, George, Disney's never going to give them the green light to do anything with that land. It's a dead end. It's a dead end forever. And that Japanese Pokemon ride is going to be freaking amazing because Japan does everything amazing.
Of course.
Why don't you just put that here? I don't understand. And then you have a Pokemon land you can actually mess with and add to and grow and you're not boxed in like this Marvel superhero.
Exactly. And that's where I think it would fit better in IOA, because when you experience the layout of Marvel Superhero Island, it's very opened.
Right.
So when you take all that stuff out, you can kind of have like the open, the grassy plains where you catch Pokemon, and you could have tournament buildings and what have you. You could retheme the Incredible Hulk into a Charizard coaster, because that Universal loves to take the IP and just turn it into a coaster. So they already have the coaster, but instead of it being green, just paint it orange.
There you go. Exactly.
Maybe OG, maybe that'll entice you to check it out because it'll be orange.
Yeah, exactly. I know exactly. It's on brand for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I mean, Universal's doing some really good things. Some of these, like I disagree with some of the stuff. Like I think, well, I shouldn't say I disagree. I'm torn on it because I understand the need for the kids stuff at the studio park, but at the same time,
just don't half-ass it. If you half-ass it, that you're just going to throw it in there for the sake of, because the park needs it. And as I said, where the Simpsons area is in the Universal Studios Park in Orlando, it's kind of like in the center part of it. So you're basically you're landlocked in that sense with just that little piece. So I don't think that's enough land to really give Pokemon the TLC and the love that it would need if you're going to put it into a park.
So if they let's say they don't replace Spider-Man at IOA, right? It doesn't look like they're gonna.
No.
And they give us the Japanese Pokemon ride that they're gonna replace Spider-Man with. Mm-hmm. How big is that Spider-Man building? So if we get that Pokemon ride that's based on this Spider-Man ride system. Just assuming, where would that fit over there in studios? I mean, is that I would imagine that Spider-Man ride is a massive building.
Oh, it's the Spider-Man, it's massive because they literally built almost like film sets in that thing, and they like tied in like all special effects and pyro with 3D screens and everything. That building's huge, and even the queue is even in that building. So it's a massive building. So that's what I'm saying, is that when you kind of compare it to the show building of the Simpsons ride, it's nothing in comparison.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy to see. But look, we've been saying this for a long time. There's going to be cannibalization amongst the Universal parks. Mm-hmm. And now I'm starting to see it in the community. I'm seeing stuff where it's like people are actually starting to entertain that idea. We were one of the first ones saying that, you know what I'm saying? And I think even Universal understands that. And that's why they're sort of prepping this stuff with the Pokemon and all that you're hearing Zelda. That's why. They know exactly what's going to happen, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And in a way, and if that does come to fruition and that's the route that Universal goes, that's where Disney kind of has to pick up those P's and Q's as well. It's like when you're going to do something with one park, kind of have your backup system like ready for these other parks, so they're not just sitting stagnant for how many years. And it's like, as I said, Animal Kingdom is a perfect example. It's like it's the biggest park. It's 500 acres, and there's still land around that park that could be used for future expansion development, but it's sitting there.
I know.
They're replacing Dino Land, which, yes, I get it. Dino Land needs work. I definitely get it. But at the end of the day, you're just replacing. You're not expanding.
There's issues with Disney World right now for some reason. Like they're really, I don't know what it is. I think the politics over there is a thing for sure. Yeah. I think that they're unsure how that's going to shake out. But I also think it might be Jeff Vall. I mean, it could be. I don't know. But there seems to be a little bit more competency
and hesitation.
Well, hesitation for sure. And I feel like there's more competency over there at Disneyland resort. So there's something going on with these two resorts. And I don't know where that problem or where that difference is. It could be Daddy Josh's mindset. It could be the different presidents, Patrak or Vali, whatever. I don't know where this disconnect is, but there's something there because with Florida, they seem a little bit, I don't know. There's a lot, like you said, George, with those conventions. It's always the what if stuff, the blue sky and what if maybe stuff is always Florida though.
Absolutely. And before I give my statement on that, did you say maybe?
I did say maybe. Hold on, let's go ahead and give our friend maybe a shout out.
Cause I'm that girl that drives you crazy, but you're killing me alone. Got to thinking maybe alone. Got to thinking maybe alone. Thinking maybe.
Oh, maybe in the house.
Yes. Shout out to maybe.
yes. Yeah. So we'll see, man. We'll see. You know, it's interesting.
But I do have to say my last final thought, and I'm definitely going to say to what you were just saying about. Like with Damaro and Volley, you know, if Volley is involved like with a little bit of the decision makings, I don't think he's like the full on, you know, for Walt Disney World, but he definitely can like discuss it with Damaro and
he's in the room for sure.
And Vaughn for sure. Yeah. I do think that they have to take politics aside, because again, I know that they're dealing with all that crap over there right now. Yeah. That, you know, but just speaking just to Walt Disney World itself, they need to get off these what ifs, shoulda, coulda, woulda. You know, they need to start green lighting stuff. They really need to. They have to.
Yeah.
And I think people would then take a different approach of how they see Walt Disney World, kind of going back to our very first topic when we were saying that it's ranked, you know, the #1 ripoff, you know, and it's like it'll come full circle when you start adding more to your parks, then the price value will match what you're giving your guests.
Yeah, exactly. That's a part of it too. Exactly. Adding new stuff, it adds value. You know, I hate talking like that. I don't know. I just feel like it's so corporate or financial or whatever. I don't know. It just feels weird to me. But like it does though. It adds value, and then it, you know, and all that stuff. But it adds that, and then they got to get this like Genie Plus Lightning Lane stuff under control, man.
Yeah.
You know, that's not only is it a logistical problem, but it's a PR mess for them. And I think that's where a lot of this ripoff kind of mindset with guests is coming from, is from that, because they're like, well, I just paid this much money and I'm waiting in a longer line than if I didn't pay for that. That's where the ripoff stuff comes in. I think they got to get that under control. They really do.
Absolutely. And I can't wait to dive into that conversation with you fellas, because we're going to be doing a video on that really soon. So definitely look out for that, folks. It's going to be, as Kaylee says, it's going to be a banger.
We have banger. We have banger. Boom, boom.
I want to thank you, OG, for joining me this evening on Citrus Corner. You know, it's been a while. I'm so glad I got to get back into the hosting chair and do this. I mean, there's not too much going on right now with Walt Disney World, unfortunately, but I think there's going to be a lot of Citrus Corners in the future coming this summer after the D23.
Absolutely. And I think I absolutely after D23, and like we said before, with the whole when the whole Reedy Creek thing is finally settled and over with, that'll be interesting to see kind of where things are at that time. Like once the dust settles, let's see where we stand. Now, what do we do? And that's gonna be an interesting conversation to have. We're still a while off of that, I think, but you know, it'll be interesting. So a lot of Florida stuff coming for sure, but it's just right now we're kind of in a holding pattern. You know, it's just kind of like
So we'll when the news comes out, we'll discuss it, and that's what we do here on Orange Grove 55. So I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Comment down below any questions, comments, concerns, opinions, everything we talked about, whether it's the Universal possible expansions in the other parks besides Epic Universe, EPCOT with the Journey of Water, the Communicore building, Disney being ranked the #1 ripoff, anything you want to discuss. discuss or talk about. We love hearing from you. Please like, subscribe, smash that notification icon because you get all the new content coming right to your fingertips. And as I always say, stay safe, stay healthy, stay Disney. Bye, everybody.
Hold on. Can we just talk about how hot she is? Oh my god. Oh my god.
세상은 누구에게나 공평하게 추악해.